Hi, it's Jen from Shabby Fabrics here to show you a really amazing tool from Creative Grid. This is called Square on Square 8-inch trim tool. And it makes this amazing block. As you can see, this quilt has a lot of movement. It has a block called the Snails Trail. This tool can do other things besides this block that you're seeing here, also doing kind of the square and a square. So this is a multi-function tool by Creative Grid that takes a block that has historically been very difficult to achieve to make it beginner friendly. And I love that. Tools that take someone with limited experience and already can advance you to quickly being able to accomplish a quilt of this caliber. So if you haven't already picked up this kit and the backing, after this you're going to want to make sure you do that. The tool is required to make the block because, again, everything is oversized and we're trimming up with each round. So let me just show you how this works. Of course, the instructions are included with the Creative Grid tool, but it's always nice when somebody can just show you, right? We all say we're visual learners. I think all of us are visual learners. So you're going to start off making a simple 4-patch. Of course, our pattern as well as the instructions inside the tool will guide you into these measurements. Simply do a 4-patch. We pressed our seams open so the block would lie nice and flat. So we have a series of trim functions, but we start with the one right here in the corner that says trim 2.5-inch piece square. Notice the bullseye right in the middle as well as lines going vertically and lines going horizontally. I love the more lines the better that help me know I am in the right position. So I'm just going to turn the mat so that we're able to trim up this side and this side. So we can continue to rotate the mat if we like, or simply pick up the tool. Either way, we now want to make sure we've exposed the other two sides for trimming so that we get a nice, perfect center where other fabrics will now be added on. How cool is that? So if you can get your points coming together right in the middle, even if things on the perimeter aren't lining up, doesn't matter. They're going to be trimmed away. I always love that, like, okay, if I can get the centerpiece, even though those others might not match up, doesn't matter. They're all going to be trimmed away. Now that we have done this, let me just show you where we're going. Our next fabrics, this is where we're headed. Let me turn it so it's in the same exact orientation. You're like, how did we get here? We start off with our fabrics, just like this, where they're right side together, sew a 1/4 inch and press. But let me point out something here. We do want to line them up. They don't have to be perfect because, again, we're going to be trimming this up. But I like to start off with good alignment. And as you can see, the point of this triangle is right on that seam. You are in the right location. Pin and sew. And, of course, press to the outside. The same on this side. Lining this up. If you're ever like, oh, I don't know if I'm perfectly centered or I can't see that point anymore, I just simply give it a crease and I line up that fold with that seam and I know I'm in the right spot. Easy. 1/4 inch, press to the outside. We've done that. Same thing now. Once those are pressed to the opposites, now we come in with our blue, just like we did here. Lining that up, 1/4 inch. Lining that up here, 1/4 inch. We press to the outside. My favorite blocks are whenever I get to do an oversized block. What a cool opportunity. Those are my most accurate quilts when they're fully assembled. Why? Because I was able to trim up with a perfect tool. I'm not a perfect quilter, but these are perfect tools, right? They've been precision engineered and manufactured. Now that we've pressed to the outside, here we go again with our trim tool. So now we've moved from this to A1. We'll move on to A2, B1, and B2. Easy. Simply take the white, so that you can see this. This white frame is going to frame that center right there. Once again, it has exposed two sides of our block. 1 and 2. So we now know these 2 sides have been trimmed, therefore these need to be trimmed. Simply flip that so that now the other 2 sides that are not trimmed are exposed. And something else I'll point out to you, notice this dashed line is hitting right here and right here. That is the 1/4" seam allowance. When we sew all of the blocks together and all the layers of that, that's where the needle will be passing through. That's another visual confirmation that you are in the right location. So that's our block so far. You're seeing the block begin to develop. Okay, same story. Let's look at where we are now. So we just grabbed our next fabrics. So again, these on, everything's pressing away from the center the whole time. So let's just do that because I want to show you the trim functions. The key is the trim functions. Such a cool tool. So just like we did A1, now we move on to A2. Again, we have a nice frame now going around our new center. You can see this becomes very intuitive. There's the dash lines, there's the dash lines. Trim, trim. So I like to say, okay, if I'm here, let me just get this a little bit squared up for us. I need to rotate this so that I'm exposing those other 2 sides. I'm looking for the dash line, and we trim. I look like a pretty talented quilter right now, don't I? With perfect piecing. Yes, these tools, this one, the Ultimate Flying Geese, and many of the other Creative Grid rulers have the same concept of oversized trim, log cabin trim tool duo. They all do this. It's just awesome. The wonky ruler, I love that one, the wonky log cabin. Same thing, next round, the 2 opposites go on, the 2 colors go on. Let's press to the outside. Your pattern, of course, will be giving you all the measurements for the fabrics. You don't have to make any guesses there. And, of course, you know now that we have gone through A1, A2, we're now at B1, where we're going to frame our new larger center. Once again, I have my dash line hitting at this point, dash line hitting at this point. Trim and trim. All right, and let's just flip that around to expose our other sides. Get everything lined up, and you can see if your lines of the ruler are slightly bigger or slightly smaller, don't worry about that. I'm really looking to get it pretty much averaged, to be framing the middle. I'm really looking at the dash lines to make sure that when I pass through that with a 1/4" seam allowance, I'm not cutting off any of my points. So this is a really good location. Our last round is, of course, same. Whites, colors, press to the outside. Now, this is my favorite. You simply trim around the entire ruler. If you're going to pick up the tool and pick up the kit, grab some scrap fabric. Give it a try. I've learned to do that. Make sure you're comfortable with the ruler. You're very familiar with how to read the ruler so you're not lining up somewhere by mistake. Then, when you're very confident, then go ahead and use the fabric that's in your kit. For the final trim, B2, those lines are going around that larger center. And notice dash line, dash line, dash line, and dash line. We are definitely in the right location. This is really where the spinning mat is coming in, just the superstar, right? I'm not lifting the block right now. I definitely don't want to do that now that we found the sweet spot. And now you have a perfect block that I know myself I could not achieve on my own with near precision. I could get in the ballpark, but I want mine to be precise, right? So now that we have our block done, now it's just a matter of positioning them. This is great to lay out on a design wall. You can follow exactly what we did, or maybe change up your fabrics to be where you want them to be located. But now this is just a matter of sewing rows together, adding an inner border and outer border. Easy, right? The work seemed so difficult, but with the trim tool, you can see that even a beginner can have a really easy time with this quilt. And hey, even as a more experienced quilter, I like an easy quilt now and again where a tool helps me just relax and just enjoy the process of the amazing engineering of the Creative Grid tool. So if you haven't already grabbed your kit, be sure to do that. Grab your backing, your trim tool, of course the spinning mat, any notions you might need, and I'll see you soon on another Shabby video.